who founded Sera Monastery. So usually we call it Shimchu. Shimchu is 24th and Ngamchu is 25th. So yeah, we usually call it Sera, like Sera Monastery, Sera Shimchu yesterday. And then today is Gande Ngamchu, which is the Lama Tsongkhapa day. So tonight we have actually the whole day we visit the monasteries and make offerings, offer lamps, and offer prostrations, offer mandala, etc. Like that. Then in the evening we have long puja in the evening. Then we light up all the houses. So similar to Christmas, similar to Diwali, which is the Indian light festival, and similar to Christmas. So today, all of Tibet, usually, even though Lama Tsongkhapa is the founder of the Gelugpa tradition, but it's actually celebrated all across Tibet. Shimchu and Ngamchu, yesterday and today, is celebrated all across Lhasa, the capital of Tibet. And then Ngamchu, the Lama Tsongkhapa's the Parinirvana is celebrated all across Tibet, actually. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like Christmas. You don't have to be a Christian to celebrate Christmas. So similarly, the all across all the sect or school of Buddhism in Tibet, they all celebrate Lama Tsongkhapa's birth, the Parinirvana Day. Last time we came to verse number 76, is it correct?
I think last time we finished at 89, rinpoche last.
Oh, sorry. Yes. Oh, yeah, the hell and yes, correct. Animal, there's multi. Yes, 89, that's correct. Yeah, thank you. Okay, so I think it's a very auspicious occasion that we and have our class today to reflect on the Buddha Dharma on the same day as Lama Tsongkhapa's Parinirvana Day. So Lama Tsongkhapa, when he passed away, his last parting words is that those who, because there are many, when the great master is passing away, or any great being, right? When someone very much beloved is passing away, always the loved ones and followers will always circle around and say, please don't go, please stay a little bit longer. That's or for a renowned master, the request is, please come back. Please come back to this world and don't leave us like that. Please lead us out of samsara, etc. So Lama Tsongkhapa, when his followers requested him to come back and maybe to stay longer or to come back, etc. So Lama Tsongkhapa's response, is that after I depart from this world, after I go away, you should take care of my two Lamrim books. So the two Lamrim book is the Tantra Lamrim and the Sutra Lamrim. So usually when we say Lamrim, we are referring to the Sutra one, but there is also a Tantra Lamrim too. So the two Lamrim is what you should be, taking care of after my demise is the two Lamrims, the Tantra and the Sutra Lamrim. And even if I live longer or I come back to this world, I have nothing more to teach you or to add. Everything I have to speak, I have to say, is within these two lamrims. So take care of that. That's the last parting words of Lama Tsongkhapa. And he himself said in the, yeah. And also in Lama Tsongkhapa's praise to the dependent arising, it's a very famous poem that Lama Tsongkhapa wrote. So Lama Tsongkhapa wrote 18 volumes of text, which has like 300 pages, 600 pages like that. But the one I just mentioned praise to the dependent arising. It's only about 6 or 7 pages. It's a poem, but it becomes so popular. It became so popular in Tibet that even it says that, and it's so beautiful that even beggars used to memorize that poem and read it in order to get, to get money to get food in Tibet. It's so beautiful. It's so well written, a beautiful poetry, as well as very profound in eloquently explaining the meaning of emptiness. Yeah. So praise to the dependent arising is actually a praise to Buddha Shakyamuni, uh, but it's called praise to the dependent arising because instead of and it's said to be one of the best, topmost, one of the best um, hymns, right? A praise, a hymn written to mm, any any deity, yeah, especially the Buddha Shakyamuni, um, because every time when we write something, when we write a hymn about someone, usually we write about how good he looks, how well he speaks, how many beautiful wives he has, or what a beautiful, handsome children, or basically all material thing. But in this particular poem, Lama Tsongkhapa wrote not about the Buddha Shakyamuni's physical features or materialistic activities or achievements, but about his spiritual, especially in the way of um, teaching, right? Explaining on the Dharma, especially on the what's that? Uh, dependent arising. Dependent arising. Um, Dependent arising is what the Buddha taught. Okay, so because of that, this is seen as one of the best praise to the Buddha Shakyamuni. Yeah, and in the end of that praise, he said, uh, of all the activities that there is in this world, uh, the top activity, the number one activity, sorry, the number one activity is the activity of the speech, meaning only by showing the path through speech or through the Dharma, one can lead people to, one can lead the sentient beings out of samsara. Not by showing different features, not by showing magical things or jumping over mountains, killing demons or that kind of thing, but by actually showing you the path, then people can be led away from samsara. Mm. So Lama Tsongkhapa, that's at the end of the praise. He said, of all the activities, the the best activity, the most superior activity is the activity of the speech. Yeah, because only through the activity of the speech one can liberate sentient beings. Yeah. So so and the praise to dependent arising is actually none other than a praise to Buddha Shakyamuni. Uh, he was actually praising the way Buddha Shakyamuni taught uh, the dependent arising. And dependent arising is nothing but um, the the meaning behind, the real story behind emptiness. So without the understanding of dependent arising, emptiness means just that, empty, nothing, empty, without just a vacuum, just a blankness. If you do not understand the dependent arising, then emptiness means just empty. Yeah, like an empty bowl. Mhm. So instead of saying Buddha Shakyamuni taught uh, the Four Noble Truths or this and that, or even saying the way Buddha Shakyamuni taught emptiness is marvelous, amazing. Instead of saying that, he said Buddha Shakyamuni taught dependent arising. And this is the most amazing teaching. The reason I will explain. As I said, dependent arising is the reason why things are all empty of inherent existence. Yeah, that's the first thing. And more importantly, what dependent arising does is dependent arising brings, uh, the term law and order. or law and order, right? Law and order, like, or chaos and order. Chaos is everything is a mess, right? Nobody follows each other. There's no rule in the country, or no law in the country, or no rule. People are not following rule. Just everybody is doing whatever they wish to do. Um, Full mess, whether it's a organization, country, whatever, right? That's a full mess. That's chaos, right? And then order is when everything is following um, um, properly. Everything is going the way it should be going. Um, like if if you are driving on the right side, if you when you're driving a car, if you're driving on the right side, you if the direction is to drive on the right side, you should follow driving on the right side. If the direction says drive on the right, and if you drive on the left, that's chaos. That's a mess. So order is when you follow the instruction. So it says to go to the right, then you go to the right. That's following the order, right? So order and chaos and order, right? Law and order, like that. Yeah. So what happens is emptiness, the term emptiness, without understanding the deeper meaning of emptiness, then what emptiness, the term emptiness will bring chaos, everything put into a mess, because everything's empty, nothing exists. So why we follow the rule? Why we respect the teachers, the parents? Why we follow when somebody says go to right? Why should we go to right? We can go to left because that's what I want to do. Nothing holds, nothing has inherent existence. Nothing exists uh, substantially. So you are not there. The one person who is giving the order is not there, right? The king is not there. Mm, the boss is not there. The police are not there. So therefore, we can do whatever we like because everything is empty, right? That's one way of looking at it. So without understanding the word emptiness properly, then there are many times we fall into the chasm, we fall into the pit of chaos. Uh, by understanding, by that's why in India, right? I think I explained that before. The people who follow the teaching of emptiness, emptiness is shunyata. So Shunyata followers or Shunyata believers are called Shunyavadi, right? And then Shunyavadis at that time in India are considered some sort of a lower class than the majority of, let's say, Hindus or other tradition, which are considered higher because they follow the order. They have a God to follow. They follow the order. And the Buddhist, which are the Shunyata follower, are kind of seen as lower because they don't follow any sort of a rule, even though there is a Buddha Shakyamuni there. But he says he's not a god. So he's just a human being, just like us, normal human being. He may be the son of a king, but he is not a god. So therefore, he doesn't have the, um, you know, that sort of authority, according to the majority of the people of the land at that time. In any case, um, especially after the Buddha passed away, immediately after the Buddha passed away, the influence of Buddhism started to the, the way people look at Buddhism is not as a uh, not as of a highest form of religion or tradition, but that of some sort of a lower quality. The reason being because because people lack understanding of shunyata. Uh, and because shunyata says emptiness, so that means there is no karma, no self. And of course, Buddhism always talk about no self, no God, right? No creation, no creator, no self. And then emptiness means even karma is emptiness, right? So therefore, all these things makes people feel like Buddhism is inferior, even though it's quite popular, but it's seen as a more, how to say, inferior form of tradition, not a superior form of tradition. Yeah. And so Nagarjuna, when he came about 400 years after Buddha's demise, passing away, what he did was Nagarjuna make sure that emptiness that Buddha taught, emptiness is understood as the Buddha taught them. People understand the deep meaning behind emptiness. Okay. Um, and the same thing Lama Tsongkhapa did in Tibet, because um, when Buddhism was brought into Tibet, uh, um, of course, it was very popular in the beginning. Then slowly, because of the lack of understanding, lack of proper understanding of emptiness, then things started to become more and more chaotic. Chaos came into Tibet. In the religious stream, in the political stream, in the public stream, everywhere there become chaos. And then by introducing the deeper meaning, the more profound meaning of emptiness through dependent arising, Lama Tsongkhapa brought order into Tibet. So the state praise to Lama Tsongkhapa, praise to dependent arising, the one I just mentioned, about 6 pages, 7 pages. So that page, it is said there's one of the stories in Tibet, right? There is one master by the name of Taksang Lodzawa, right? Taksang Lodzawa. And so he, of course, Lodzawa means a great translator. So Taksang Lodzawa, and he's a translator, and of course, translator has to know, not only study the language, but also have to study and practice the text themselves too. That's what a Lodzawa is. So Taksang Lodzawa is a great, great, great scholar. So one of the the legend is that Tazang Lodzawa writes so many books. Actually, Tazang Lodzawa wrote more books than Lama Tsongkhapa himself. Uh, so Tazang Lodzawa is uh, great critic of Lama Tsongkhapa. Critic, yeah. When during Lama Tsongkhapa's lifetime, he criticized a lot of Lama Tsongkhapa's works, right? Not the person, but the work, right? Literary works. And so Taksang Lodzawa is said to be, so when he does, it is said that when he does Kora, he writes book all the time, and he is always teaching. So when he do a Kora, on four sides of the temple, there will be four squares, four writers. So he will be, at one point, he will be talking about, let's say, Tantra, right? At one point, at one corner. And then he will say something, and then that person will write about the Tantra teaching. And then the next corner, on let's say east, west, on the western corner, he will teach about um, Madhyamika. And then they write it down. And in the northern corner, he will teach about Chittamatra. And the southern corner, he will come to a very detailed form of Vajrayana, like let's say highest yoga tantra, etc. So similar to you have seen like a grandmaster grand chess master, which challenges 20 people at one room, and then he will just keep going, playing the chess with about 20 people, 200 people, like that. So Taksang Lodzawa is something like that. And so Taksang Lodzawa used to be a great critic of Lama Tsongkhapa. And then, yeah, this is the talent of Taksang Lodzawa. Taksang Lodzawa is a great, great teacher. So Taksang Lodzawa is such a great scholar and teacher. So it so happened that one time there is a beggar who came to his temple, his monastery, and begging for food. So usually, the beggars in Tibet beg with, they it's like there is an exchange going on. Okay, they just don't beg for nothing. So they beg for money, or not money, but like food, and then they offer something in return, which is like a song, or praise, or whatever. So most of the, I think it's a tradition that tradition is still prevalent in India to also, like the beggars would come and then sing a song, whatever. So in those days, of course, there is no YouTube or social media or anything. So the beggars are they are the social media. So whenever there is a new song written or something, the beggars actually they have very good voice, so they sing the song. So the beggar was actually singing this particular song of praise to Buddha Shakyamuni called the Praise to the Dependent Arising. And so Taksang Lodzawa was doing the Kora, his usual Kora, the evening walk around the temple. And when he was doing the Kora, he heard the beggar singing this song or the praise, and it's so well written. And of course, the beggars are very well spoken. The beggars are, you know, very nice voice, and the grasping of the language is very good actually. So Tatsong Lodzawa was mesmerized. He stopped his pace during the Kora. Um, at first, he lost his attention in there, and he did one Kora, and then as the beggar kept going on reading the praise to the Buddha Shakyam, praise to the uh, praise to the dependent arising, as he kept reading that, the Taksang Lodzawa grew more and more interest in that book, in that praise. And then he kept listening, and at first he thought it was the Buddha's teaching. Then after a few words, there is a praise to the Lord Buddha. So, oh, okay, he said, okay, this is not Buddha's writing because it says praise to the Buddha. And then he kept listening, and then this is certainly the work of Nagarjuna, so well written. And then around the middle, there is something called this is the blossoming of the Nagarjuna's ideas, etc. like that. I hear, oh, okay, this is not Nagarjuna's writing. Most likely it's Aryadeva, which is Nagarjuna's chief disciple. So as he kept like guessing, it must be what this or that Indian master, Pandita of Nalanda monastery, Nalanda University. So Lama Tsongkhapa was writing and praising the works and the talent, or let's say the way the independent arising in emptiness was taught by all these great Nalanda masters. And he came to the conclusion that this was not written by any Indian masters. And then by the end, he found out that it was actually written by a Tibetan master, the way he ended the last, say, may the Buddha Dharma prevail in the snowland, etc., like something like that. So then he becomes so curious, and he bring the beggar to his room, his house, and then ask him, give him good food, and then ask him who wrote this. And then he said, "Oh, this is written by Tsongkhapa." At that time, Tsongkhapa was not a great master or teacher. He was a very strong writer. He's a very well written, he's a good writer, and only among the scholars people know about this, right? Not in to the general public, that he's not that popular. But of course, then he mentioned the name Tsongkhapa. He couldn't believe it because he had been writing a lot of criticism for Tsongkhapa in the past. And then Tasong Lodzawa started to regret or repent his earlier, let's say, criticism of Tsongkhapa. And um, and then he went to follow Tsongkhapa. So then he wrote a very beautiful poem to Tsongkhapa. I think yeah, so it's very well written, very beautifully put. Anyway, so that is the how do you say, like, that is what Tsongkhapa is like. Yeah, so this is one small um story of Lama Tsongkhapa.
Yeah.
So without even meeting him, this great master, Dasgang Lodzawa, who used to be a great critic, he actually wrote 18 volume, uh, 18, so he wrote about 18 articles criticizing Tsongkhapa's work in the past. And then after hearing praise to the dependent arising, then he understood Lama Tsongkhapa's true intention, and then have had great respect for him. So as far as his comprehensive Buddhist practice-related teaching is concerned, Lamrim is the most authoritative one, and the most comprehensive one. When it comes to more philosophical, especially comparative study of philosophical ideas of India, different philosophical ideas of India to put it into to 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 study it comparatively, to put all the text of Indian masters together, um, like how we study in the modern universities now, to basically a comparative study that was introduced by Lama Tsongkhapa way. Um, Lama Tsongkhapa introduced that sort of a system in Tibet way back, um, in the book called the Rosary of Eloquent Sayings. Rosary, like a mala, the Rosary of Eloquent Sayings. So it's a great book. But that book has a lot of criticism as well, because yeah. And then another book, that the most authoritative book on philosophical teachings, especially on the Madhyamika side, not Madhyamika, sorry, on the Shunyata side, is a book called um, um, what is it? Mm, the essence of the essence of definitive and interpretive meanings. So, what is interpretable and what is definitive? What things the Buddha said has to be interpreted into this and that, or what things that Buddha said can be taken literally. So, interpret the essence of interpretable and definitive meanings. That book is the most authoritative book that Lama Tsongkhapa wrote out of the 18 books. So these are the most popular ones. The Rosary of Great Sayings, the Rosary of Eloquent Sayings, and which is comparative study of all the Buddhist masters, not Buddhist masters, sorry, all the Buddhist philosophical school studies in ancient India, and then the essence of definitive and interpretable meaning. That book is actually compared, not recently, but like about 30 years ago. His Holiness the Dalai Lama asked one Indian professor. He actually is a very, uh, he is a great Sanskrit scholar as well as a Tibetan scholar and Indian Pandita. Huh? And so His Holiness one time asked Pandita, that Indian scholar, how do you rate the work of Lama Tsongkhapa's essence of definitive and interpretable meaning? Is it eligible to be submitted as one of the works of Nalanda masters, Nalanda teachers? And without any hesitation, the professor said to His Holiness the Dalai Lama, to say to him that no doubt Lama Tsongkhapa's works, especially the essence of sutra, essence of definitive and interpretable meaning, that book will actually um, can be certified or can be submitted as one of the best Nalanda master's works. Even though Tsongkhapa came much, much later, like 500 years, about 500, 600 years after uh, the fall of Nalanda, but his writing, his writing skill, not only the writing skill, but also the profundity of the meaning the profundity of the subject that he touched. One of the specialty of Lama Tsongkhapa is that a lot of time, many great masters, great writers, what they used to do is a lot of time they write, they enjoy writing, so they write many pages, uh, and then especially when it's something that is how to say, um, the information or the meaning is widely available, they write a lot of pages on that particular topic. But when it comes to more um, um, how to say, some of the topics which doesn't have a available citation in the sutra or maybe in the Indian writing. Basically, when it comes to more profound, more difficult topics, they write less. When it comes to more easy topic, they write more. They fill the pages. with Lama Tsongkhapa's text, Lama Tsongkhapa's writing style is exact opposite. When it comes to the most difficult topic, he write like 4, 5, 6, 7, 10, sometimes even one full chapter on that particular topic. But when it comes to the easy part, he just skips it. So that's his style, like that. And so because of that, his work. So when he writes for the scholars, like the dependent, the essence of the definitive and interpretable meaning, when he writes for the scholars, he writes as a scholar. So it's very hard to understand, very difficult to memorize, like that. When he writes for the common people, he writes as a common people. He uses commoners' language, and he makes it very approachable. So that is his, he makes his teaching accessible, available, like that. Mm. Oh yeah. So there are many contribution made by Lama Tsongkhapa. That's why he became known as the one of the greatest masters of Tibet. And but I will take two, okay, before I finish. So one is Tsongkhapa. Yeah, in Tibetan we usually call him Je Rinpoche or Je Tsongkhapa, not Lama Tsongkhapa. I think it's a Western concept because yeah. So Je Rinpoche, we usually say Je Rinpoche. Je Tsongkhapa or Je Rinpoche. His actual name is Lobsang Trapa. Okay, Lobsang Trapa is his real name. So Je Rinpoche is a salutation, like a venerable doctor, president, like that. So Je Rinpoche, Je Tsongkhapa, Lama Tsongkhapa, all these are not his real name. Anyway, so Je Tsongkhapa, Je Tsongkhapa or Je Rinpoche. Je Rinpoche, um, two greatest contribution for the Buddha Dharma. The first thing is when he came to Tibet, there was a huge wound in Tibet, wound, and a huge gap, mm, huge wound. And Tsongkhapa came to heal that wound, that gap. So that gap is called the gap of Sutra and Tantra. Okay. So there are many who practice Sutra. So those who practice the Sutra are the monks, the ordained people. And then there is a lot of people who practice Vajrayana, and those who practice Vajrayana are non-monastic. Okay, generally speaking, of course, there are many great masters who are both monastics as well as they're practicing this and that. Generally speaking, in the general public, there is a huge gap, huge wound, and that wound is becoming bigger and bigger. So basically, majority of the monks think that it's unholy to practice Vajrayana Tantra because Tantra means, uh, you know, especially the Tantra that spread to Tibet, the controlling of the semen and all these things. So basically, it is considered, and then of course you see a lot of the display of the deities, which is killing demons, people, etc. So basically, the monks think that Tantra is not Buddhism. And the tantric practitioners, the tantrikas, think that the monks are just much inferior. They're not getting it. They're not getting the real teaching of the Buddha. So basically, there is a huge gap widening between those who practice Tantra and those who practice Sutra. Yeah. So Lama Tsongkhapa's greatest contribution is that he came, he learned, and then he taught people that these two are not two different things. It is basically the that you can call it the two sides of the same coin. Basically, it's or even more than that. Um, one person can practice both. A monk can practice Vajrayana, and a tantrika can become a monk. Or it's actually nothing to do with monk even then. Sutra can be practiced. Sutra and tantra can both be practiced by one single individual. And Lama Tsongkhapa basically reintroduced, okay, not introduced, but reintroduced. It was introduced by Shadarakshita, Padmasambhava, etc., way before. So Lama Tsongkhapa reintroduced Buddhism or reintroduced the system of one single individual achieving both Sutra and Tantra. And that path is called the virtuous path of accomplishing both Sutra and Tantra within one single lifetime. So virtuous, so I will say it one more time. The virtuous system or the virtuous path of accomplishing Sutra and Tantra within one's lifetime, one single individual within one's lifetime. Yeah. So virtuous path translated into English, the Tibetan word is Gedenpa, Gedenpa. So Ge Denpa means Gewa is virtue. Denpa means the one who has Gewa, the one who has virtue. What is the virtue we are talking about here? The virtue of merging Sutra and Tantra in one single individual's daily practices and accomplishing them both in one very lifetime. So that is the virtuous path. So Ge Denpa. And it later become known as Gelugpa. Luk means system. Den means let's say path. So the virtuous path become virtuous system or Gelugpa. So that's where the origin of the name Gelugpa comes from.
Yeah. Yeah.
So one of the major contribution of Lama Tsongkhapa, unifying the gap between Sutra and Tantra. Yeah, so something I forgot to add was that it was the time. So um, because of this huge gap, right? Whenever there is a gap, people people take advantage of that gap, right? Other people take advantage of that gap. So basically, there is a misunderstanding, huge misunderstanding between Sutra and Tantra, and that misunderstanding, that gap was misused by none other than Indian teachers. Indian, you can call them masters or you can call them teachers, whatever. So basically, many Indian scholars came from India, obviously, and Nepal to how do you call that? Manipulate the Tibetans and then give them false Dharma and then take their gold away uh, to India. Um, so, of course, initially there were many great Indian masters, like real teachers. Later, because there's a big gap and there is a big sort of yeah, so people, how does it, take advantage of that. Many Indian masters came from India, like Bengali, mostly Bengali, I think. They came to India. They introduced and reintroduced many different kind of weird uh, styles, as you can see in India today. And then they call it the most sacred of the sacred of the sacred tantric practices. And then this is the fastest route to what do you call that? The Buddhahood, whatever, blah, 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 like that. And then so many people were manipulated. It's as you see around the world, even nowadays. So with Tibetan masters nowadays. So, so you know what the Indians did to the Tibetans, some of the Tibetan masters are doing in around the world nowadays. So anyway, it's a samsara, right? Um, so the main point, yeah. So Lama Tsongkhapa put an end to all of that. Okay, so that's one thing. So the other contribution, the major contribution was the first one is reintroducing or yeah, reintroducing uh Sutra and Tantra, right? Uh the other contribution was once again reintroducing and re revising, so no, reviving the monastic system. Mm. At that time, because of the Sutra and the gap between Sutra and Tantra, so basically people who practice Tantra are seen as higher, and the monks who are seen as practicing Sutra are seen as lower, and the monastic system, the monastic condition, everything has going downhill. So Lama Tsongkhapa made sure that all the monks, the Vinaya vows were rules were followed properly, reintroduced, and the monks follow the rules properly. Basically, he made not the person, but the system very strong. Mm. He made the monastic system or the Vinaya system very strong. Mm. And then people start to, how to say, once again, people start to have faith, devotion, and respect for the Sangha, for the monastic system once again. Mm. So he gained that respect the monks have lost for about 100 or 200 years. Yeah. Oh, yeah. So one of the way the Indian masters came to Tibet and um, uh, take advantage of the Tibetan, especially in the with the Vajrayana part, is that because Vajrayana is the idea, sorry, the view of the Vajrayana is the Madhyamika view, which is Shunyata. So the way they profited from is that because everything's empty, empty nature, emptiness. So therefore, no need to follow the rule, no need to follow the law, and do whatever you like, that kind of thing. If you have heard of Osho, the teaching of the Osho, in his initial stage, Osho was also teaching something like that. Of course, his teaching later changed, later transformed into many things, matured as well. But his initial teachings were very revolutionary, and that's why it drew a lot of people, because it's so refreshing. Yeah. So something like that happened in Tibet too. Yeah. So one of the key that they use to manipulate people is through the teaching of emptiness, because everything is empty, nothing holds true, nothing exists substantially. So why should you hold so much into this and that thing, right? Which can be a good thing or bad thing depending on how people lead you or mislead you. So people were misled into doing so many terrible things, citing emptiness. Mm. So Lama Tsongkhapa pushed very much on the side of the order, the rule, that part, yeah, and the dependent arising side. So as I said, emptiness and dependent arising is like the two sides of the same coin. Actually, a better, better terminal, better metaphor is, the circle of Taoism, yin and yang. So
Yeah.
there is a black and the white. So emptiness and dependent arising are exactly like that. So if one thing becomes bigger than the other, then there is a mismatch. There is no, uh, you know, um, so it has to be exactly the same. The exact ratio for the black side, exact ratio for the white side. So in Tibetan, we call that Nawa and Tongba. Tongba as in Tongba Ni, and Nawa means light. So the dependent arising side, the law side, the rule side, the order side, is called Nawa. The other side is called Tongba. And a little bit of both are necessary. A little bit of not following the rule, a little bit of, creativity. If there is so much rigidness in the rule and everything, then there will be no creativity. Life will become so placid and boring. There needs to be some creativity, but that creativity also should be sort of bound within a certain limitation or a certain order. Uh, so uh, if you have that order, then things will function properly. For example, you can drive anywhere in the country. You can drive a car anywhere in the country. If there is a restriction, you cannot drive this and this and that, then what's the point of having a car? But when you are driving the car, you should follow all the traffic rules. Yeah. So drive the car wherever you want to go, but also at the same time follow the rules. So the rule part is the nawa or the light, and the restriction part is the tongba. Sorry. The rule part is the nawa, right? And the tongba is the non-restriction part, right? The rule is restricting you to a certain point. You cannot drive on the right side or left side. You cannot drive when the light is red. That is the nawa part. Nawa, the light. The light actually tells you to follow the rule. And the tongba, which is the darkness, right? tells you not to follow the rule. So certain rules should be followed. You can be creative as you like within a certain form of order. Without that order, things will stop functioning. You will do what you want to do. I will do what I want to do. Basically, if we both do something like that, then everything will come into chaos. Um, so the reason human society is functioning um, uh, is because we follow that order, right? Not order of somebody like some higher authority, but in general, we have this understanding. If you are if you are if we are both passing through a narrow path, then either I yield or you yield so that we can cross that path. Otherwise, if we both stand firm, then we cannot cross that path. So that's sort of the 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 dark side. I'm not saying before Lama Tsongkhapa everything is dark, okay? So don't get me wrong. What I'm saying is the emptiness side is um, uh, weighing too much. So Lama Tsongkhapa pushed on the light side so that he made the yin and yang a perfect balance like that. Okay, so this concludes Lama Tsongkhapa's short life story. So the reason we reflect over that is because today is his Parinirvana day. Uh, so one of the mm, so even though this is not considered as one of his major contribution, but I think it's not worthy uh, to mention this. I think so. Yesterday was Chamjin Chöje Shagyayeshe or Chamjin Chöje, which is the founder of Sera Monastery. His anniversary, his parinirvana. Today is Lama Tsongkhapa's. And what is noteworthy is that Chamjin Chöje Shagyayeshe has become was what do you call that the root guru, one of the root guru or the root guru of the um, the emperor of China. I forgot which emperor that was anyway. So I think it's Tang Dynasty, not Tang Dynasty, but mm, Song. I don't know. Anyway, so he was the emperor. He was the guru of the emperor of China. Uh, the one who passed away yesterday, the founder of Sera. He became the emperor. He became the guru of the emperor of China. So of course, the emperor of China, the Chinese Empire, the emperor of China was powerful, influential, and everything. He invited Lama Tsongkhapa multiple times mm, to come to China to teach and become his master. And both times Lama Tsongkhapa declined. The first time he declined vehemently, and the second time he declined the order, so the invitation. He said he will not go, but he will send his disciple. So usually, for most of us, when we were given an invitation by a king, emperor, or president, this and that, especially by a very powerful kingdom or organization, we we take the opportunity to go there. Lama Tsongkhapa Rinpoche declined that offer, and because he don't want to offend um, the the messenger was very insistent, and then he doesn't know. In order not to, many of the students also requested Lama Tsongkhapa not to offend the emperor of China. So in not to offend him, he sent one of his disciples, Chamjin Chöje, to so the person who passed away yesterday, the founder of Sera Monastery, is actually the root guru of the king of China. And today, Lama Tsongkhapa, he declined the offer to become the root guru of China, the emperor of China. Mm. So I think that it's worth mentioning. That's the character of Lama Tsongkhapa. Yeah. Okay. So that's the I think that concludes
Yeah,
today's topic.
yeah,
So we're not, yeah. So, so we celebrate Lama Tsongkhapa's parinirvana today
yeah.
by lighting lamps at our house, and most importantly, lighting lamps within our heart and mind through reading the text, the Buddha's teachings or any Dharma teaching, Dharma works, as well as sharing love and compassion with other sentient beings. Yeah.
Thank you very much,
Okay.
Rinpoche.
Thank you so much, everyone. Yeah. Then shall we go to the dedication now, please? Oh yeah, we didn't even do the starting point
Yeah.
because we didn't do any Dharma teaching. So anyway, Gewa di nyurdo da lama sangye chubjuro nen chowa chi kyang malum kegi sala go bara sho chanjo semjo rembo che maye panama ge juro keba nyamba meba yang kone kondo pewara sho. So maximum we will do 3 times today, okay? Mi mi nze ve de chen chen je si je me ken be wan bo jan be yang de bo ma lu jo ma ze sang wen da kan je ken be zo ken zong gan ba lo son time be shy lo so one day me me ze there jen jen je je me can be one boy John be young de boy my blue enjoy am the song when the gone can be so can song gone ba lives on time be shy blind so one day me ze ve ter chen chen si ji me gen be wan bo chan be de boy ma lu jo man ze sang we da kan jen gen be zo yin zong kan ba lo san chai be shai lai se de lo san chai be shai lai se de Dembe Ningbo, Zembe Benga Xing Nama Doju Kun La Chanju Be Lobsan Choye Jamzu Chuk Ringe Nroden Tambaran Chawa De.
Rinpoche to dedicate the merit to Lama Tsongkhapa, to all the great master, to all the great master, especially to dedicate the merit for you. And we would like to wish you always healthy and long life. And we will request you to continue to turn the Dharma well to lead us to the liberation and to the enlightenment. So we would like to thank you so much for the teaching, Rinpoche.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Wang. Thank you so much, Brother Hong. And thank
Yeah.
you, everyone. Yeah. Thank you so
Thầy
much.
xin
Yeah. Bye-bye.
see you next week, Rinpoche. We look
See
forward
you
to the
next week.
teaching,
Yeah,
Rinpoche.
yeah, yeah. Have a nice weekend.
Yeah. Thầy chúc
Bye.